Elio guys, and welcome back. And in today's video we're taking another look at the lovely Enkidu. This was requested via the community tab here, where I had you guys face off against either Enkidu review next or Coco, so that means Coco's coming after this. But if you're new to the game, Enkidu has received his ultimate evolution. Yes, it is a dude. I know you're surprised, but hey, this is MSL, it's a game. Things happen, whatever here, but let's see if there's any spice added to his kit to make him more viable in regards to content, or if it's just one of those things of, you know, you get to flaunt your freaking Super Evo Siren, who still to this day I forget even has a Super Evolution until I see that one weird dude in PvP when I happen to take a look at it. So we're starting off here with the fire version of Enkidu, who is an attacker type, and he's coming in with 32k HP, 4.2k attack, and then 2.5k, nearly 2.6k defense. Decent stat distribution, nothing too crazy right here. I mean, the attack stat is great, HP is pretty good, defense is, I wouldn't say average, maybe a little bit below average, since this is technically an ultimate evolution here, but overall I think the stats will definitely buff out. So taking a look at his skills, he also has a protector shield, aka a defense leader skill, so if you pull him variant he looks cool, but in terms of overall usage I don't really see much mileage getting out of that variant skill, unfortunately, so it's like a weird flex, but okay. But in regards to his other skills right here, for his 3-star skill there's HP Siphon. Attacks restore allies HP in proportion to the amount of damage dealt. 4.2k attack stat, pretty decent right there. And then for the 5-star skill, which indicates it is an AoE, he has Sleep, which is 100% chance for 1 turn. Very lackluster kit right here. I mean, he can kind of do some self-restoration and then also some debuffings with Sleep, but Sleep is situational, and I think one of the mons that may be able to use Sleep the best isn't Drowsy. It's actually, I think, Light Tiger has Sleep on his kit, or maybe Dark Tiger. I think it's Light Tiger though, I could be wrong. But anyways, his ultimate skill is Attack Up, which increases everyone's attack power by 50% for 2 turns, which is cool. I'm down with that. However, his kit just doesn't support like actual survivability. Yeah, he has HP Siphon, but HP Siphon is not gonna, you know, have him be protected against a nuker here. So I'm trying to think of some synergies of where this could work at. I mean, it's just weird. Like, he was already bad before. This does nothing to change anything whatsoever. So that's pretty much it. But let's take a look at the skill books too, because this is the new updated video, meaning the older one has now vanished from the internet, at least of my personal review. So HP Siphon does receive a 20% damage boost, and it goes up to, what was that, 15% or something like that? It doesn't even say. We don't even know what the percentage is. Sleep also gets a 20% damage boost and goes up to 2 turns. Is it worth booking for this guy? He's already not useful, so yeah, no. And then moving on here, we do have the water version of Enkidu, who's also an attacker type as well, coming in at nearly 29k HP, 4.3k attack, and then 2.9k defense. That is a hefty defense stat increase, and his HP did drop by 4k, but honestly, I don't know. I think I may like the stat distribution on this one a little bit better, because that defense really helps. Because one of the things, like you guys had wondered about, like Dark Finnick, you can have plenty of HP, but if your defense doesn't exist whatsoever, your HP is basically nothing. I mean, it is something, but if you get hit, you're going to be crying here. But let's go and take a look at these skills. So in regards to the 3-star skill, Lethal Strike, I, for whatever reason, totally forgot Enkidu had Lethal Strike. Good thing I'm doing this video right here. That's obviously great for the Apophis dungeon, and then also in PvP in certain situations. And then for the 5-star skill, Hunter, 50% critical hit. So if you do end up pulling this mon and want to use it, especially for the Apophis dungeon, make sure that boy has a square slot. If he doesn't have a square slot, the game has been pretty generous as of lately of giving out like converters every now and again, and I think I have plenty of them without having to purchase any at all. So if you are really hell-bent on using him, go ahead and get that square slot up in there. If not, pray to the gods you get a good clean intuition set, because it's not as hard as it was back in the day to get max crit rate. And then in regards to the ultimate skill here, resistance down, 100% chance for 3 turns. This is great synergy. Like, I could definitely see some uses with this skill kit. Now, resistance down is a little bit weird outside of the Apophis dungeon, but if you're using him strictly for that, which I would probably recommend, then you could definitely get away with getting that up in there, because 100% chance that helps all the debuffs stick and hopefully can help your team survive a couple more waves. Hunter isn't super important. I mean, there is some damage right there, especially at the beginning of that dungeon, or basically it's just a battle of big giant snake boy here. But the main selling point is a lethal strike, so decent upgrade. It adds some survivability, and I think I'm definitely okay with that. PvP, your own discretion. I'm just going to tell you straight up though, better choices. But if you're a newer player, use what you have until you get something better. But Lethal Strike does receive a 20% damage boost, and Hunter receives a 25% damage boost. Once again, are the books worth it? No. And then coming in next, shocker to everyone, my only Evo 3 Enkidu, and still to this day, it is a bit of a weird champ because I end up pulling Merlins after that, and even though all of my Merlins aren't at Evo 3, and they still do terrible damage, we are here talking about Enkidu today. So we do have the wood version pulled up here. He's a balance type coming in with 34k HP, nearly 3.6k attack, and then 3.1k defense. Stats are fine. Balance type could be higher, but as long as he survives and gets the job done, who cares? So, take a look at the 3-star skill first, Courageous Strike. This, of course, is great for Titans. There's also the damage reduction on the 5-star skill. This could be paired up nicely if you had like Zubaji, or maybe you're just beginning the game with a Merlin or two, if you're lucky. So it's better. It's always better to have at least one Courageous Striker on your squad versus none whatsoever. So don't get me wrong of saying that Enkidu isn't super appealing in game, because if you're just starting a game, obviously something is better than nothing. And then for the ultimate skill, there's also Purification, which is very interesting because that only applies to him, I do believe. Which, once again, I guess it works, but you'll end up replacing him anyways. I haven't really seen Enkidu do a hell of a lot of damage here, and I don't feel like even with this ultimate evolution it's going to change much, though I could be wrong. And I say that because it's on his 3-star skill for the Courageous Strike, and if he gets a lot of SP, then he may end up just spamming damage reduction, meaning any like damage increase that he would have gotten originally means nothing whatsoever. Decent increase. Is it a game changer? Not by any means, but if this is the only Enkidu that you plan on using and you're still using him still to this day in terms of Titans, that's all on you. You could also bring him into Colossus if you want, though some may be a little bit, you know, weird chant with bringing that in there depending on what element, but it's really up to you. Outside of that, there's not really any other content that comes to mind where Courageous Strike is super useful at. So a very situational mon that can kind of help beginner players get their feet in Titans. But with that being said, here we do have the books pulled up. Courageous Strike receives a whopping 25% damage increase, and then damage reduction doesn't really matter whatsoever. It's an AoE. There's no damage modifiers up there. 30% damage increase. It is what it is. Once again, if you had the books laying around, would I invest in this one? If this is the only one that you ever plan on using for the rest of your MSL career, it's none of my business. But so far, the RGB is just, you know, it's some upgrades. It's just, I don't know. There's nothing like smiley face gaming so far, if that makes any sense. And then continuing this trend on over here, we do have the light version of Enkidu. He is an attacker type coming in with 31k HP, 4.1k attack, and then 2.9k defense. This is a great stat distribution. This is honestly what I would look for in terms of an Ultimate Evolution Astromon, and at least the freaking light version got it. I am totally down with that. But do remember that since he is a light type as well, he does have that innate boost in his crit rate, so it's easier to get that maximum crit rates and hopefully get some more damage out of him here. But let's take a look at the skills, and then we'll go and talk about this stuff right here. So for the 3-star skill, 80% chance for weaken that lasts for 2 turns. That's great. Very helpful skill. And then for the 5-star skill is Courageous Strike. Once again, very helpful if he can get that SP going. And then for the ultimate skill, he has a shield. No, he has an attack-based shield, not a shield-based attack. Once again, this kind of synergizes, especially with his kit already of having that decent amount of attack and decent defense stat too. So overall, I do think that's an upgrade if you do happen to have him. Though I do believe he also suffers an issue that someone else that we know and I wouldn't say love also has, which I believe it's, yep, Dark Amayoji. I knew it. I knew it. It is the exact same version. Well, obviously, this is a light version of Dark Amayoji, so in theory, she would outdamage him, even though he does have slightly boosted up stats, but it's the same issue. So, in an ideal situation, there's really not much damage that you could get out of this astromon, unfortunately, just because of the whole reliance on getting to his 5-star skill, not to mention timing issue. How long does this animation take? What type of, what is it called, exposed weakness do you have set up in order for him to take that once he gets the 5-star skill? It's just a whole bunch of micromanaging to get subpar damage out of an astromon that, maybe one round he gets plenty of SP and gets his 5-star skill off. Next time, dude gets screwed, all you see is weakened. So, decent synergy with the ultimate skill, however, it doesn't correct his innate problem to begin with here. So, it's like, yeah, man, this card, this card sounds great, it looks great, however, it still runs like garbage at the end of the day. Maybe you wrapped it, maybe you got a paint job on it, but it's still garbage at the end of the day. Very unfortunate out there, but hey, at least he is a very aesthetic looking trophy here. And then in regards to the books as well, Weaken receives a 15% damage boost, goes up to 90% I do believe for 3 turns, and then Courageous Strike also gets a 25% damage boost. I mean, you could use him as like a dedicated Weaken mon and pray that he gets his 5-star skill off. Someone like Wood Garuda, but that's pretty much all that you have to work with right here, because that is the unfortunate part about this, because Wood Garuda is literally a Wood Astromon. Like, he's a Wood Nat 5 that plenty of people could always pick, or just get lucky with pulling, but to go ahead and like basically fight the RNG gods and pull this out is just sad face gaming. It really is just sad face gaming. I'm not saying that he can't do damage, but he would be so much better if they could at least freaking swap the skills or something, man. Like, oof. And then last, and hopefully least, maybe it's not, but anyways, lastly, we do have the dark version of Enkidu, who's also an attacker type, coming in with 32k HP, 4.3k attack, and 2.8k defense. Slightly different stats versus the light one, but this one could do more damage in theory, since it is a Darkmon with the higher crit damage. But stat distribution is perfectly fine. So taking a look at his skills, 3-star skill is Hunter, increases his critical hit damage by 50%. The 5-star skill is Persevere, which the longer a battle takes, the more damage you can get out of this, which I haven't really found a big use for, outside of, maybe if you pulled him and you're interested in the Apophis dungeon. But you could use him as your first sword. That's pretty much it. Clan versus clan, if the battle keeps going on, I think that's fine too. And I could argue in a PvP situation that could be helpful as well, because if you take a look at his ultimate skill, he does have SP Siphon built into that. However, it's not reliable. There's a 50% chance for that to proc, there's a 50% chance for that not to work either, so could be helpful. It's rolling the dice here, but I feel like it does give a little bit more usage to him and not make him as super duper meme worthy. Like, he's nothing super amazing still, but it does help his case a little bit if you happen to pull him. I mean, I guess if I got lucky enough to pull him, I would obviously Evo 3 him for the Astro Guide, but I would play around with him, see what he does. Nothing maybe extravagant, but I'm sure there's some creative players out there with a Dark Enkidu that can actually show him off here. But let's take a look at these skills too. So Hunter receives a 30% damage boost, and Persevere also receives a 30% damage boost. Yeah, mainly just, I mean, so some nuking properties to him, but the Persevere kind of doesn't really promote the nuking, because if he's killing you, Persevere never really gets that time to kind of, hype up and get super duper good. But also depending on your PvP composition, if you're using mons like Cupid, Dark Cupid that is, and just naturally tanky mons where your plan is just to use Persevere, because mons like, what is it, Dark Sandwraith have been smiley face gaming Astromon. So he does have uses, I would argue even slightly more than the light one, but honestly I've only ever used the wood one, and even till this day I don't believe I even use the wood one anymore here. So while the Ultimate Evolution is a nice addition to the game, at least aesthetically, it is a bit lackluster, I would say the least. Like, I was going in hoping that this would kind of correct some of the issues with Enkidu, but we're not going to talk about that. Anyways, feel free to leave in the comments below about what your favorite Enkidu is. If you guys have any big brain builds or big brain areas where you use him at, feel free to leave that in the comments below too, in case other players happen to pull him and they don't have all the astromon that I have. Not a weird flex, I just been playing since 1946, so things happen that way. But yeah, that's pretty much it. See ya.